Hello everybody, welcome back to Planet X News, May 15th, 2020. Folks, I have you over here at the Stereo website, and we're going to be taking a look at some images that are dated for the 13th. There was a coronal mass ejection that occurred, once again, and we can clearly see, well, almost clearly see, an object right there in the coronal mass ejection. Now, I went ahead and downloaded all of these images, and last night I went ahead and ran all of the images through my program. And very early this morning, only one image came out clear. But one thing I want to point out is every time there is a coronal mass ejection and we're able to view it on the Stereo Ahead Core 2 camera on that spacecraft, it seems like whenever there is an object that may possibly be visible, they pixelate the image. And you can see some of the pixelization right here. See that straight line there, straight line there? This is all pixeled. Same thing right here. It's almost like they, try to obscure the view. And, the program that I use is a pretty sophisticated program, and it will remove all of that pixelization, and it will center in on an area that I outline. So basically I'll go ahead and draw a box around this area because I could clearly see there is something there. And during this frame, or during these frames, there is missing time. Once again, they cut off a portion of the video, because we're looking at still photographs now. But whenever you look at the video itself, they're all frames put together. But towards the very end, when you are expecting to see a clearer view, they cut it all out. Now there's probably about, I believe, anywhere between 6 to 8 hours of footage, once again, cut out. Folks, I've been dealing with the NASA's editing of these coronagraphs for years and years. And since I've been publicizing all of this, going all the way back to 2016, it just seems that the quality of the images are getting worse. That happened to me, I think it was back in 2018, using the SDO, the Solar Dynamics Observatory, to view the sun in different angstroms of ultraviolet light. The quality used to be very, very good. But then it got worse. And it got worse. Now, there used to be one website that I was able to go to that nobody knew about, and they would post those images and that 48-hour loop from the SDO in high definition. But I can't get access to it anymore. I lost access to that about a year ago. So, if they are able to show high definition imagery on that website from the past, why can't they show it on the main website again? Well, I'll tell you why. Is because it will give us a clearer definition of what is there. We probably wouldn't have to use sophisticated programs to try to uncover what is there. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and I'll zoom in here. Let's zoom in, and I'll show you guys how pixelated this gets. So let me move this over to the middle. So you see what I mean? The rest of the coronagraph image Now that's interference, and this stereo 2 is very far away from the sun, like 92 million miles away. And this camera system, and I'll show you where it's positioned. We'll take a look at the Stereo Core 2 map, and it will show you exactly where it's positioned. And it will also show you that this object right here, you could barely see because they pixelized it. But I was able to fix all that. Ran it through that program. It took like 3 hours. It rendered one photograph. That's it, one photograph. All of the rest of the frames, and if you pan down, you'll see, once again, see the big square? They literally just cut that right out. Well, they tried to hide it. They cut it right out. If you don't look at it when it's zoomed in, you can barely tell that it was covered up. Look how bad that one is. But still, you can clearly see a spherical object right there. There's no doubt in my mind. After my program rendered the final photograph, once again, they just never cease to amaze me with their fakery, But I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here just a little bit more so we can see how bad they cover things up. And it's just so noticeable. So here's your image. Here is your original image. And you guys can go to the Stereo website, and you can go into latest images. You can punch in the dates for May 13th, 2021 to May 13th, 2021, because they're going to ask you for a beginning date and an end date. Well, this scheme of photographs, this only occurred on one day, the 13th of May. But again, you can clearly see how they have tried to cover that up. And pixelizing something with any kind of basic program, photo viewing program or video program, a lot of them do have an option to obscure images in the photograph. Specifically, like say for instance, you had someone in a photograph and you wanted to block out their face to hide their identity. You see a lot of that on the news and things of that nature, but that's basically it. YouTube even has a pixelization program if you want to edit a video after you've already uploaded it and you need to obscure something. So they even have that now. But you could see how bad they are, man. They're terrible. And you think with all of the technology that NASA has, that they could do a better job of trying to cover something up. So you see how bad it is. You can see there is an object right there. But it doesn't look like much now, does it? No, it does not. So we're going to go ahead and shrink it back down to where we can view it. So as we go through the photographs, and this is all backwards. So you could see the time right here, 22:38, 54, 22:23, and so on and so forth. But let me see here. I'm going to show you guys the part that they blocked out. You know what? I don't think it's going to be in here. No, it's not. You can see if you watch the video. Whenever you go into images, you can actually, instead of viewing still photographs, you can convert the still photographs into a video. During the video, you can clearly see that they cut it off. And it's about 4 to 6 hours, and they do it all of the time. So you can download all of these images right up here. And I downloaded all of the images, uploaded them all to my program, and it takes a long time for it to process and render several photographs. But when it did, it only gave me one. And I'll show you guys what this one photograph looks like. And it's pretty amazing. So this is the first photograph that I downloaded, and I put this photograph through the program. It cleared it up just a little bit. I got this photograph back in about 1 hour, and that's 1 hour of processing time. And you can see right there, it does look a little clearer, and we could go ahead and zoom in all the way. So it did define the object quite a bit, but you can still see that line right there, that line of pixelization. You could even see a little square 90-degree angle right there. So they literally tried to cover the explosion of the coronal mass ejection. They tried to cover that up. But why? Why would you cover the coronal mass ejection? Why would you pixelize it? Why would you go through all of that? Well, we're looking at it. That is proof positive right there. So we're going to go ahead and flip over to the next photograph. And here is the photograph at its regular size. It's the same identical photograph that we just looked at, but this was what was rendered after the second time that I put the image through my program. And this took about 2 hours for it to come in. Now, the majority of all of the pixelization is gone, so we can go ahead and zoom all the way in. That's the furthest I could zoom in. But you can still see, looks like there's a square box, there's a right angle right there. You could still see some of the pixelization. You could see a straight line right through there. So it's like they're using some type of a pixel box. So I could go ahead and just draw the pixel box over here, you know, and lay it in, draw another pixel box. Maybe there was something here that we can't pick up. But that's exactly what they did. So we could go ahead and move on to a second photograph, and this is just a little bit larger. And now you could see even more defined. You could see that right angle where they tried to kind of patch it. And let's just go ahead and zoom all the way in. Now we can see our object much more clearly. No pixelization, nothing throughout the whole entire image. There's some pixelization down here. There's some pixelization right here. But you can clearly see this kind of patch. You can see the 90-degree angle. But it did remove the majority of that pixelization, and there we go. There is our object. So we're going to go ahead and move in a little bit tighter. Move it as tight as we can. Now you can start to see what I was talking about. See that straight line right there? Perfect 90-degree angle. Definitely looks like some kind of patch that they put over the image. But it wasn't enough to cover up what is right there. That is undeniable. So we'll click over to the next photograph, and we'll be able to zoom in probably to the point where it's pretty blurry. But there's that right angle. See that? There's another one right there. So, you know, that basically tells me that they're definitely, you know, hiding what is there. The photographs that I showed all of you in my video from yesterday, a lot of other people, finally, a lot of other people were able to go to the Solar Dynamics Observatory website, pull up the 171 angstrom view of the sun, which was the yellow view, and they were able to see, for probably their first time, what I've been showing everybody for years. I even have video of this object passing through the sun's corona. And I showed it back in 2016, 17, 2018, 2019. I'm not sure if I caught it in 2020. I don't think that I did. But now, for the first time, someone other than Planet X News saw something, documented it, made a video, and put it out there. Mr. MBB333, I think he did a video about it. What's the name of that UFO channel? Third Phase from the Moon. I think they picked it up probably from Mr. MBB's channel. I'm really not sure. Maybe they heard about it, saw it, and anybody can go to the SDO website and pull up that 48-hour loop and download the 48-hour loop. And if they have the proper software, maybe they could get a pretty good shot of it. Now, this morning, I did take one more screenshot from my photographs, and I decided to run that screenshot back through the program to see if I could get some more detail out of it. And I'm referring to the SDO photographs that I showed all of you in my video last night. And they're similar photographs to what was shown by Third Phase from the Moon. I think the Wormwood channel with Alex Lujan showed it. Mr. MBB333 showed it. So the more, the merrier. Okay, so I'm just not the only one showing you those photographs, those images. And look, folks, a lot of people say, oh, well, that could be Mercury, that could be, Venus. Absolutely no damn way. This object is entirely too big to be either one of those planets. Okay? And I don't think we're dealing with a planet. We've gone over that many, many times before. People, referred to it as a planet. I don't think that it is a planet. A planet orbiting very, very close to the sun would not create these coronal mass ejections. It would have to be a very, very large object with a very, very strong magnetic field in order to create these coronal mass ejections. And if you look at all of my work over the years, every single time we capture this object, it is during a coronal mass ejection. So the two magnetic fields between the stellar core, which is probably a burned out core of a star, a dead star, its core collapses on itself. It becomes very, very, very dense. Now, this could be possibly similar to a brown dwarf, but the problem is we, the public, we just don't know. Now, over the last couple of years, NASA has sent 2 probes all the way to the sun to supposedly document things that are occurring on the sun. Why didn't they do that 10 years ago? Well, 10 years ago, there wasn't that much publicity dealing with the discovery of Planet X. I think over the last 5 years, 6 years, I have broken through all of the cover-ups that NASA and the governments have put forth to try to block us from actually seeing what is there. Okay, so, the big question is, what is the big deal? What's the big deal? That, possibly another stellar object came from within our galaxy, flung out from the center of the galaxy, moving through space at millions of miles per hour, and ends up in our little tiny solar system as it's passing by. But it gets too close to the sun, and the sun's gravity starts to pull it in, little by little by little. And our sun's gravity is intense. No way to really actually measure it. But if it was strong enough to put all of our planets into the orbits that they are in, what's to say that it could not put another object into an angular, acute, and eccentric 28-day orbit around itself? And that has allowed us to photograph it and gain these images. You can say the images are fake all day long. The bottom line is, you may see other jokesters out there making some fake images and showing you pictures from the Alaska webcams and, telling you this pink sphere is a planet up in the clouds, when it's nothing more than a reflection from those Alaska webcams. That's all that it is. It's moisture inside of the lens. It's not a planet. And trust me, folks, when I say, if there was a planet that was in the clouds, as what these other YouTube channels tell you, and that planet was that close, the number one thing that would occur, that we would not survive, would be these massive tidal shifts. The tides. What do you think controls the tides on this planet? The moon. So if there was an object possibly 5 times the size of Jupiter, and it was that close to the Earth, not only would it block out the sun multiple times a day, but it would create probably tidal waves that would be 500 to 1,000 feet high. So I know a lot of people watch those YouTube channels where they're showing that pink orb, but it's nothing more than moisture inside of the lens housing inside of those Alaska webcams. I've proved that so many times and over, and some people just don't want to believe me, but that's cool. But here is the image from May 11th. And this is from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. I showed all of you this photograph and a series of photos in my video from last night. This is the same photo that Mr. MBB showed, third phase from the moon, and other YouTube channels. I downloaded the information myself, the 48-hour loop, and I ran it through my programs to see if I could get it to clear up. Now, the photographs I showed last night, I was kind of in a hurry, but I did put them together, and they did come out pretty good. But very, very early this morning, I wanted to see if I could get it even clearer, and it didn't do too bad. So let's take a look at this. So here's the next one, and we could zoom in, but I already have them zoomed in. Gets a little blurry, not too bad, but, and bingo, look at that. You could almost see some kind of definition. You can tell, you can see the corona of the sun. It's kind of back behind the sun a little bit, I would say. It's very, very hard to judge, in a one-dimensional photograph and image. And on top of that, they downgraded the resolution of the photographs and the video from the SDO, because it used to be much more clear. But now, it's not. We can jump over here This is a zoomed in version. We could go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. And you see these photographs, folks, no pixelization here on the SDO, but the method that they use is lowering the resolution that the general public is able to see. But my program does do, I think, the best job at uncovering what is actually there. And it still amazes me, whenever I make these discoveries, and they all come during these coronal mass ejections, it kind of illuminates the object. The object is interacting with the sun, both magnetic fields. It's literally pulling plasma from the sun, creating the coronal mass ejection. And folks, over the last couple of years, we've been in this solar minimum. The sun should be at sleep, as they say. Very, very little activity. But the activity hasn't stopped. The coronal mass ejections have come just about on a daily basis, or every other day. But at least one good coronal mass ejection every day, or every other day. And I've been monitoring the sun for years and years, and since these public access sites were made available, to us, I know what to look for. So this 11-year cycle when the sun should be asleep with very little activity has been anything but. It's been tons of activity. Reason being, the interaction between the sun and that object. Two magnetic fields interacting, clashing, and naturally the magnetic field of the sun is probably going to be very, very much stronger than that object's magnetic field. But that object gets close enough to the sun. So it seems like there's some type of there's like some kind of electrical interaction. And it's literally just like static electricity, pulling that plasma directly off of the sun, weakening that area, and then boom, we get the coronal mass ejection. And that kind of highlights everything. Now, I just put this into black and white to see if I was able to, see anything else. But what I do see in this photograph is that this area right here, where you can see this area is just completely dark, just completely black. But you could see this area here that is showing us that this object is clearly within the sun's corona. It gets that close to the sun for that interaction to occur, meaning to have that either that electromagnetic connection. And I've shown all of you folks over the years where I've actually caught photographs on the SDO of this object connecting to the sun. And there seems like a big plasma tornado that curls up and connects directly to the bottom of this object. So that's what we're seeing now. I don't know, some folks were saying, oh, it's a UFO, it's I forget what the hell they called it, a large Dyson sphere, or something of that nature. But I don't know, that would be pretty damn large. I mean, this object measured out, I think several years back, Dr. Albers was able to put a measurement on it, and it was approximately about 5 times the size of Jupiter, 4 to 5 times the size. Kind of hard to judge, but it's pretty big. Guaranteed way, way, way bigger than the Earth. And, its magnetic field is probably super strong. Does it reach the Earth? Is this object's magnetic field reaching the Earth during its orbit around the sun every 28 days? I think that during the Earth's orbit around the sun, obviously we're in a different position as every tick of the clock goes by, and we're orbiting around the sun pretty much kind of on a flat plane. And this object is orbiting around the sun in a very, very sharp angle. So I would say, depending on the time of year, there is a high possibility that we come in contact with the extension of the magnetic field of this object for maybe a short period of time. It's just a hypothesis of mine, just a theory. I wish I had a model, because I don't have any kind of animating software or anything of that nature, but I did make one model, I think it was last year or the year before, showing this very sharp, acute, and eccentric orbit around the sun. But I would like to maybe, I don't know how I would do it because I don't have animation software, but show the Earth orbiting around the sun through a course of a year as this object orbits around the sun every 28 days. And as the Earth makes its way around, well, our perception, our view of this object changes. So I know that's kind of a lot to take in right now. Maybe you could try to view that in your mind. I try to view it in my mind all the time. I wish I had a model of that, because there is a very high possibility that during this orbit, our orbit, and this object's orbit, yes, there is a period of time that I don't want to, well, maybe I'll just say we get closer to it. It's not that close, folks. I'm not talking like, we're going to see it in the sky. But because of the rotation, our orbit around the sun, yes, of course, we're going to get different views of it. Every 28 days, it seems that this object is zipping around the sun. And people think, oh, there's no way that could happen. Well, think about it. Mercury orbits the sun every 88 days, and it's something like 36 million miles away from the sun. We're 93 million miles away from the sun. So, there are objects that orbit stars very, very rapidly, very fast, some of them in 7 days, some of them in hours. In that high velocity. And you toss in the strength of a magnetic field and some gravity and some electromagnetism. Oh my God. Who the hell knows? Sure, I'd like to know. Will we ever really know the truth? I doubt that. But it is, it is pretty fascinating to, be on the cutting edge of discovering this object, photographing it, capturing the images, and showing them to others. Whether you believe it or not, that's on you. Is it going to destroy the Earth? Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think it will destroy the Earth like you see in movies. But I do believe that during the Earth's orbit around the sun, I do believe that there are periods of time that this object's magnetic field kind of brushes off the Earth. Like we're on the outer fringes of this object's magnetic field. And, maybe that is part of what these scientists are referring to as climate change, because it seems like the whole issue about climate change all of a sudden hit mainstream media just a few years ago, when all of these politicians, they didn't give a rat's ass about climate change. They never talked about it. You never heard about it. But now that's all we hear about. So what is really causing all of the Arctic ice in the North Pole to disappear? What is causing all of these ancient glaciers to just disappear, melt? You see what I'm saying? So we know man is really not responsible for climate change. That's just a big farce. Reports, many reports and studies have already come out. And that information is admitted, meaning they do say that, there's no way that man could cause this type of global warming. But there is no doubt that over the course of the last 10 years, over the course of the last 5 years, our weather has gotten pretty weird. The ice in the North Pole, the old ancient ice, some reports say that it's completely all gone. As the seasons change, new ice forms, which is very thin, and then, the seasons change again, and that new ice melts very, very rapidly. So now, during the summer months in the Northern Hemisphere, you can sail a ship right over top of the Earth, right over to the other side, from the Atlantic to the Pacific, or the Pacific to the Atlantic. Yeah. And the glaciers are disappearing. 80-degree temperatures, 80 plus in Alaska. The frozen tundra of Siberia becoming like a tropical paradise. Is the force of the outer fringes of this object's magnetic field tugging on the Earth, creating a more intense wobble? Because the Earth wobbles on its axis during that 365 days. As we orbit around the sun, the Earth is wobbling on its axis, and it takes one full year, 365 days, for the Earth to make one complete wobble. So during that wobble, is it turning the Northern Hemisphere, the Arctic, is it giving it a more acute angle at the sun, therefore melting all of that old ancient ice that was up there? Is it causing the extreme heat that we've been seeing in the Northern Hemisphere and then in the Southern Hemisphere during their summertime, like specifically in Australia, all those massive heat waves that they've had from India all the way down to Australia over these last couple of years? Literally roadways melting in Australia. Now that would be because, why? The Earth has continued that wobble. Now the bottom southern hemisphere of the Earth is kind of pointed just a little bit more towards the sun. Therefore, that would create more intense ultraviolet radiation. Lord only knows what is truly happening out there. But, I try to stay up on it as much as possible. I haven't been doing a lot of live streams, these last several months because, there's been a lot going on with Dr. Albers and she's getting better. But, YouTube's been on a tirade again. They've just been deleting channels, hitting you with all kinds of strikes. And I don't know, they have those, that artificial intelligence. It makes a transcript of everything that I'm saying right now. So as soon as it hears my voice, it's making sure that, I'm not violating their rules and regulations, their community standards, which I don't ever. But about a year ago, I don't know, I showed something that was pretty awesome. And I don't know, they flagged that video and said that it was violent. And I forget what the terminology was. But I don't, the video, the live stream had nothing to do with violence. It was imagery of the sun. And, they suspended my channel for 30 days. And I appealed it. And they stuck me with, the strike. And, things haven't been back to normal with my YouTube channel ever since. And I guess it's just their way of, kind of censoring me a little bit. And, censoring me a lot. Facebook does it to me. Right now, all of my Facebook pages, including my personal Facebook page, is suspended for harassment and bullying, all because I shared a Fox News report pertaining to employers not being able to find employees during this startup again. And I thought to myself, what in the hell is Facebook doing? I share a video, I share a news report from the Fox News Facebook page. I shared it to my Facebook page. And about 2 minutes later, that screen comes up. You violated a community standard for harassment and bullying. I appealed it, and within, I'd say 45 seconds to a minute later, the appeal process popped back up, and they said, you dummy, you lost the appeal. Wow, you really took a look at that in 45 seconds and rendered that decision. So I think I got like 26 more days. So, if you guys have been wondering why I haven't posted anything on the Planet X News Facebook page, well, that's why. And I just came off another 30-day suspension for the same damn thing. So, obviously, the Facebook moderators, they've been harassing me for the last couple of years. Last year, my Facebook pages, out of 1 year, my Facebook pages were suspended for 6 months. I got hit with 6 30-day suspensions because of what I'm showing. Now, over the course of the last 6 months, all of the videos that I've uploaded to the Planet X News Facebook page, I'm getting violations for those videos. And the violation is telling me that there is copywritten content within my video. But it's my video, it's my voice, it's my face, and then what? I got to sit there and I got to appeal each and every one of them. About 3 months ago, I was getting about 4 or 5 of those a day. A day. So I guess it's just their way of telling me, yep, we're watching you and we are going to make it as hard as possible to slow you down. And that's what this is all basically boiled down to over the years, is to limit my reach, limit the amount of people that you get in touch with, and limit the amount of people that can see your data. So, like I said, folks, will we ever know? I doubt it. I doubt it very highly. But we do have to continue to do the research, do the homework, make the observations, and also distinguish who is, showing us things that are fake and just not true, like the the pink orbs in the Alaska webcams. But just over the last couple of days, we've gotten some pretty good images. I'm very glad that other YouTube channels and other observers were able to see this object for themselves before I showed it to anybody. I'm very thankful for that. Mr. MBB did a pretty good job of detailing that third phase from the moon. I watched a little bit of their video. They did a fairly good job showing it. A couple other YouTube channels, some folks have gotten some still shots from the SDO Observatory, and they've posted it on Facebook and Twitter and things of that nature, and that's good. That's good, because then others will start to see what I've been showing all of you for years. Pretty cool stuff. But anyways, folks, I just wanted to bring this to you, this update on on what I was able to uncover from the Stereo Core 2. And let me go ahead and zoom in there. And I wanted to explain this pixelization. That pixelization for probably, I would say, the last 4 or 5 years has actually gotten worse when we try to view these coronal mass ejections on the Stereo website using the Stereo Ahead Core 2 cameras. But you can see it. You can see it plain as day. And even in the raw image, you were able to see, let me go ahead and just zoom in. You were able to see already, you were already able to see it. And you were also able to see the little pixelization patch that they tried to put over that. What's the big cover-up? Just tell us the truth. But you know what? Throughout all of this time, we've never been told the truth. And I think all of you know that. I think you really know that. It just seems like everything was a lie. Everything that the government tells us. Everything that we've been taught. Is it a lie? How much truth is actually in it? Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to support the medical fund for Dr. Albers, there's a link in the description box under the video. You can use the Planet X News PayPal link, and she's doing pretty well. A couple more chelation therapies coming up, and I'm hoping by the end of the summer, August, she should be done. She's doing very, very well, starting to respond very, very well. So if you'd like to support that medical fund, the link for the PayPal is in the description box underneath the video. Share the video if you can, And remember, stay tuned to Planet X News. This is your number one source. Take care, folks.